get enough of this place, this class, and of course me as a teacher, you could watch these, 20 more times if you wanted. It's all there for you on YouTube. So hello everybody online who's going to watch this later on. We're doing our Katya. You have no packages this week waiting for you, so I will put this attachment, this Word document as an attachment in WhatsApp, in our WhatsApp group. So if you want to do the Katya later on and you don't have this paper at home, you can download it. All right, so here's a paragraph about the idea of belonging. So before we get started, what can we say about the title or the titles of this piece of writing? What do you guys notice about that title? Are there any mistakes in it? Does it look okay? No, it looks fine, right? So why are there two? And why are these ones capitalized and these ones not?
One is the title, the other is the subtitle.
Exactly, yeah. So here we have our main title, and this one is called the subtitle. What is useful about a subtitle? What is useful about a title?
The subtitle gives you more of a
detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your main title gives you kind of like usually gives you the main idea of what you're about to read. So create a sense of belonging. But the subtitle then gives you a little bit more of a clue. What about creating a sense of belonging? Oh, finding ways to belong can help ease the pain of loneliness. Ah, okay. Now we have an idea. We can predict or guess that this is going to talk to us about when we find belonging, it can help take away that idea of loneliness. Okay. Has anyone in this class ever felt lonely? Yeah. Has anyone in this class ever felt like they belonged somewhere? Okay. Having a sense of belonging is a common experience. Belonging means acceptance as a member or part of a group. So we have a few issues there. What are they? Who wants to get us started?
There's a comma after experience.
Okay, so I'm going to put the comma there, and then we're going to talk about it. Thank you for saying that. Having a sense of belonging is a common experience. Belonging means acceptance as a member of a group.
I'd say it's a period and then belonging is capitalized.
Okay, so now I'm going to change it to that. Can you tell us why?
Because it's kind of a new idea. First it talks about belonging as a common experience, and it talks about what belonging is.
Yeah, so here's the reason, and it's a little bit tricky, and I understand why you did that, Presley, because lots of people do that. This is the trick. Belonging, usually to belong is a verb, right? When we stick that ing on it, in this case, it becomes a noun, it becomes a thing, right? Belonging, it's called a gerund, it's a thing noun, right? So now we have a new subject, and a new verb, and a new thought. So as soon as we have a new subject and a new verb, a comma is not enough, okay? We have to have a period. There are other things we could do. We could do a long dash, we could do a semicolon, but the original text has it like this. They have a period and then an uppercase B. So that one's a really tricky one to find, so don't feel bad if you didn't find it, and don't feel bad if you put a comma there. It's very common. It's very comma-in, get it? Okay. So that's number one, that's number two. Okay. So having a sense of belonging is a common experience. Belonging means acceptance as a member or part of a group. Our next one's kind of just like jumping out at us here, thanks to the computer. What is it? Acceptance. Yeah, acceptance. So what's wrong? Did anybody catch this one? What's wrong with acceptance?
Is there an A after the T?
Yes. This is an A instead of an E. Acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, we have a meeting, but it's not this meeting, so.
Yeah, I think it's over that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
No. Who has trouble with this suffix? So, yeah. So do I. So do I. I think I've been very honest that I'm not the world's best speller, and I'm super happy for spell check. And especially when I'm typing really quickly and I just, right? So yeah, the A-N-C-E or the E-N-C-E, it's sometimes that gets a little bit confusing, okay? Such a simple word for huge idea.
For a huge idea.
Yeah. Can I tell you guys why there's 13? I had not intended to put that mistake in there when I was retyping this from where I found it. Somehow the A got left out. So yeah, a huge idea.
Just before such, should
Yeah.
it be it is such a simple word for a.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, you know what? It is such a simple word for a huge idea. Yeah, because you're right, Presley, it seems like there's no really subject, right?
Yeah.
Or instead of a period there, maybe like a dash saying such a simple word for such a huge idea. That's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Such a simple, because what is our subject and verb in that sentence? You're right. Yeah, good point. Okay, a sense of belonging is a human need. Anything wrong there? Everybody say no? It's all good? Okay. Just like the need for food and shelter.
Should there be a comma?
There we need a comma. And then what happens?
Lowercase j.
Yeah. So here we are tagging on. That's a dependent clause, okay? We're tagging it on to the end. A sense of belonging is a human need. That's okay on its own. But just like the need for food and shelter does not have a subject and a verb, right? Yeah, kind of like Presley pointed out up there, which is incorrect. Feeling that you belong is most important for seeing value in life and in dealing with intensely painful emotions. Anything wrong there? Again, it's something kind of jumping out at you. Feeling that you belong is most important for seeing value in life and in dealing with intensely painful emotions. Painful, yes. So this is something that I am seeing in people's writing, is the double L on words like wonderful, beautiful, painful, playful, any more fulls you can think of. So when we add that full to the end of a word, that suffix, one of the L's gets chopped off, right? So that's something to remember. Painful. Some people find belonging in a church, some with friends, some with family, and some on social media. So we've got some issues in this sentence. What's going on? What do we need? Commas! We need to throw a bunch of commas in there. So somebody tell me where you threw in some commas. Okay, yes.
Friends. After some of friends.
Yep,
Family.
yep. Now here's the kicker. Did anybody not put a comma before the and? Okay.
Almost didn't.
Almost didn't. So this is the thing. If you put a comma before the and, before the last thing, so what we're doing here is we're listing, right? So some people find belonging in church, some with friends, some with family, and some on social media. When we list like that, when we have and at the end, there's two schools of thinking. One grammar school says, oh, you need to have a comma before and, before that last thing. That was the school I went to as a kid. There's another school of thinking that says, no, when you list that last thing and you say the and, then you don't need a comma before the and. So both are okay, it's just a different style. So some people will argue, no, my style's right, my style's right. Doesn't really matter, you can just choose the style that you like. Okay, I always like to have it before the and because that's what I learned in school, but okay. So that is how many then? 7, 8, and 9? 7, 8, 9. And now I need to scroll down a little bit or make it smaller. I think I'll need to scroll down. And now I'll need to erase a little bit. Others believe and feel a connection to all people the world over, to humanity. Some struggle to find a sense of belonging and their loneliness is physically painful for them.
Themselves.
Yes, so themselves. Why themselves, Presley, and not themself? Oh, sorry, I keep saying your name.
It's fine. 'cause it says some people see.
Yeah,
Talking
it's the
about-
people, right? So we know that's more than one. So then it needs to be, this needs to be plural, okay? And how do we make it plural? What do we do if there's an F at the end? That L and that F, what do we need to do?
Let's say
Take
V,
the F out.
Yeah, change it to a V, I heard, and add
V, E.
Yes.
ES, yeah, themselves. Was that number 10? I think so. See themselves as connected to only one or two people. Others believe and feel a connection to all people the world over, to humanity. What is...
People all over the world.
Yeah, you could say to people all over the world, but world over is kind of like it's a saying. Like, people are experiencing COVID the world over, which means all over the world. Has anybody ever heard it said like that before?
No.
No? Yeah?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it is a thing, so that's okay. I mean, it sounds kind of awkward, especially if you haven't heard it before, but the world over, yeah. But there is another mistake in there that's kind of jumping out at you.
Why they say feel a connection, they don't say feel connected?
You could say feel connected, you could say others, but then we would need to change. Oh, no we wouldn't. Others believe and feel connected to all people? Sure, yeah. Yeah, you could do it like that too. That would totally work. There's more than one way to slaughter a chicken, right? Yeah, you could totally do it like that. But where is the issue here, the spelling issue? Yes, so I before E, except after C. So if you have the word receive, then you want EI, because it's after C. But here, we want IE. Believe and feel a connection, or feel connected to all people the world over, to humanity. Some struggle to find a sense of belonging, and their loneliness is physically painful for them.
Loneliness.
Loneliness, what's wrong?
Needs an I.
Yeah. So and this was like this on the web page. I didn't mean to underline it or make it blue, but it was a link you could click on to go and learn about loneliness. But when you have a word that ends in Y, and you want to add a suffix to it, an ending, that Y needs to change to an I. If there is a consonant there, right before it, all right? If there's another vowel, then it doesn't need to turn to an I. So for example, play, and we want to add full to say playful, we don't need to change this Y to an I when we add the suffix, because there's a vowel, another vowel right before the Y. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any questions? So is that number 11, 12?
Yeah.
That's 12. There were 12. Oh, okay, 12. I found 13 at the end. Great. Any questions? I had you have some questions there at the bottom to think about, and I kind of asked you a little bit at the beginning to try and connect you to this reading. But what would you say this paragraph is mostly about? If someone asked you, if they hadn't read it, and they saw that on your table and said, what is this about? What would you say the main idea is of that paragraph?
How it belongs?
Okay.
Did I not get that right?
Well, yeah, it's about belonging, but what about belonging?
The meaning.
Okay, the meaning of belonging?
The need of belonging.
The need to belong, yeah. So once you start asking yourselves questions, like break it down, oh, it's about belonging. Well, what about belonging? The need to belong. Why is that important? The need to belong so we don't feel alone, right? Yeah, you can kind of break it down for yourself. So I just had you thinking about these. Do you have a place or a group where you feel like you truly belong? And how would you describe that feeling? You don't have to share. If you want to, you can. And has there been a time in your life where you don't feel like you belong? And how does that feel? Anybody want to talk about that? That's getting too deep as we're moving on. We've probably all had times, right, where we feel like, oh, I don't belong in that place.
not come.
What's that?
Or you
Yeah.
you get there, you would say, oh, I wish I would have not come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
But I like this, going to over with this,
Yeah,
because explaining why sometimes, like,
yeah.
double L and all this.
Yeah,
I think that's a very good
it's
learning.
helpful. Yeah,
Mhm.
good, I'm glad. It's good. Alrighty, so I'm gonna press pause while I kind of gather my thoughts again here. And so these videos are not too long.